Hey everybody, this is Nick Matthews. I'm a Partner Solutions Architect over here at AWS. Today we're going to talk about Checkpoint and the vSEC product in AWS. So we're going to start off a little bit by talking about some basic AWS networking because we've got a mix of folks from AWS and folks that are more familiar with Checkpoint. So we're going to do a basic AWS primer on security, and then we're going to go into talking about the Checkpoint product and hear from a couple customers here. So, high-level security, and what we're seeing here is that security is more important than ever. I don't think it's probably going to be surprising to anyone on this call. As more and more customers and we digitalize more of our data, it becomes more and more valuable. Security is a lot different now than it was even 10 years ago, where it used to be some script kiddies would come onto your website and deface it to prove that they could, and now it's a lot different. You have nation states, creating security conflicts. You have It's a business, right? You can get support for your malware now. You can go buy a botnet for not very much money, and it's now actually more important than ever to secure your data and your workloads. And so a lot of customers are finding that they're not prepared for this kind of new wave of security, and so that's kind of where both AWS and Checkpoint come in to help out. So, we used to spend a lot of our time here at AWS convincing customers that we were secure, and actually now I think we've had a lot of customers come out. We had Capital One talk about this last year. Their CIO said that they can run more securely on AWS than they can on-premise. This year, we had some other customers, and GE, for instance, say this. So more and more folks that you would expect to be highly secure are coming out and they're saying, we're on AWS and it's more secure than on-premise. And why is that? There's a couple of reasons. A lot of it's getting people out of the way. When people aren't running around in your own data centers and when people aren't making personally their own little configuration changes inside data centers, that takes away a lot of it because we have automated and made a lot of the auditing available. Another one is complexity breeds security problems. So when things are complex, that just opens lots of holes for attackers. So one of AWS's kind of core purposes for existing is to simplify things, right? So we simplify our access to APIs, we simplify our services, and we abstract away a lot of the undifferentiated heavy lifting that most customers have to do in their data centers, and we are able to take that on at scale and do that very well. As part of this as well, security is day zero for us. We don't think about something, we don't release something, we don't do anything unless it's secure, because we know that the number one concern from our customers and their customers is security. So protecting the cloud and our customers is job number zero. And part of that is when we develop new services and new features, we make sure that those things are secure and that they have reasonable defaults. So for instance, there's a number of services like EBS and S3 and some of our database products that you can literally just click one checkbox to encrypt it. Whereas on-premises, that would probably be more of a process, if not bringing in some professional services folks. As part of that as well, that same product design, we have strong authentication. So all of it, like our ELB and all of our API endpoints, only support strong crypto, none of the old, SSL versions or RSA and whatnot. And so, for instance, another product is IoT, where we've seen a lot of DDoS attacks from insecure IoT devices. One of the places where we made a private decision to make sure it was secure was IoT. So you can't register an IoT device into our IoT service unless it supports an X509 certificate and can do SSL or TLS. So that's a differentiator for us, we believe, and what makes folks like Checkpoint a good partner. If this slide is important, so whether you're familiar with AWS or Checkpoint, this is something that really helps us frame the conversation with customers. Security is a shared responsibility between AWS and the customer. So AWS protects the cloud itself, so security of the cloud. The infrastructure, like I said, the undifferentiated heavy lifting. So we support the security of the physical zones and areas. So this means I'm sorry, I think someone clicked this here. So we support the physical data centers themselves. So we've got regions, which are collections of data centers. Availability zones are data centers. Oftentimes our availability zones are more than one data center. So We do the physical security, make sure no one's getting in, the security of our fiber underneath the ground, all the physical things, we secure that, so the infrastructure itself. And then up to the hypervisor inside those data centers, we support as well. So basically you can think about from the concrete to the hypervisor, AWS has that level of security. So we secure the underlying network, we secure the Zen hypervisor that we use, we secure the storage, we secure the databases that we operate. And then basically the things that you put on the cloud, so your applications, your code, your users, those are the things that the customer is responsible for securing. And you'll see in there that network security is one of those pillars. So you'll need to figure out which ports and applications you should block or inspect. If you're doing things like PCI or HIPAA, you'll want to make sure that you're conforming to those regulations. And we'll talk a little bit about that later as well. So hopefully this makes sense. Like I said before, we spent a lot of time convincing customers AWS was secure. That pendulum may have actually swung the other way, and now they hear all these stories about AWS and how you can do things securely. And they go, well, I'm on AWS, I'm secure. And then we actually have to have the opposite conversation. We come back and we say, well, actually, you need to come back in here and make sure you're doing proper security. So, for instance, if you're using checkpoints on premises and that's the way you operate your security controls, you probably want to do the same thing on AWS, or at least make sure you're operating those same controls. So making sure you go in and secure your data is very, very important. Again, if we talk a little bit more about the underlying AWS security here, all the same monitoring and probably more because we operate at an extremely large scale. So we do a lot of monitoring, both on the physical side as well as the network side for network monitoring. There's tools that we offer out to customers to do their own monitoring. So CloudTrail is what the service we use for auditing. So every API call that goes into AWS is logged by AWS CloudTrail for all the services that support it, which is the vast majority. And from there, those API calls can be double secured, for instance. So you can say that no one is allowed to delete those audit logs unless they have a multi-factor authentication. And you can't change CloudTrail authentication setting unless you have MFA as well. So that's common, and we recommend that. You can enable that for all of our regions. And if you go a little bit closer to the workload, inside of the operating system, we have a service called Amazon Inspector. Amazon Inspector is an agent you can load. We recommend this especially for DevOps kind of CI/CD pipelines, where if you just want to make sure as code and applications are being developed that they don't have any common vulnerabilities, or potentially if you want to check it against some of the default rule sets that we offer, you can check at that point in time, does my code have any well-known vulnerabilities, maybe in Apache or something similar. And so Amazon Inspector is helpful for that portion of the data. Security is also availability, right? So right now, this is a testament to how fast we move, but this slide's not even accurate anymore. So we actually have 14 regions and 38 availability zones now. So this means that if you're operating in the United States, but you end up either going out to other parts of the world or acquiring companies, or you want to expand out your capabilities, you can go global in minutes, right? You can take the same applications that you run in one region and go to another region with the same configuration, same services for the most part. So one of the other components here that we get questions about is making sure that your data stays where you put it. This is especially important in places like Germany and Europe that have regulatory requirements about data residency. So it's important to know that the data will stay where you put it unless you tell us to put it somewhere else. So if you put the data in Virginia, it doesn't leave Virginia unless you tell us to replicate somewhere else. If you put it in our Frankfurt region in Germany, it doesn't leave Germany unless you tell us to put it somewhere else. As well, for those of you that may have been at Re:Invent last week, we talked a lot about our DDoS capabilities. So DDoS is our capability we offer to all customers, so the Shield product. And it allows us to basically, if we go back to the shared security model, protect the infrastructure. So if you're on AWS and your neighbor is underneath a DDoS attack, you will not feel the effects of that. If you are a customer that thinks you may end up having DDoS problems or you've had it before, we operate a very, very large network and we can absorb those attacks, and we have advanced technology for doing that. And so yeah, we announced Shield, a DDoS service. So now you can actually get a managed service where you can talk to people from AWS about DDoS, and we can waive your DDoS costs if you end up having to spend more on auto-scaling functions or if you need more ELBs and those kinds of things. So very cool stuff. You can check out some of the YouTube videos that were released in the last few days if you want to know more about that. As well, there's a very good hybrid story. So we can connect your resources on-prem directly into AWS. So there's a couple ways and a couple applications where that becomes important. From a networking perspective, we've got a service called Direct Connect where you can bring in your WAN or your private circuit directly into AWS's data centers and connect directly into your virtual private cloud or your VPC. This is often used where use cases where maybe you've got a hardware security module on premise, or you want to store your keys there. Sometimes it's other applications like Active Directory. So if you want to do SAML or identity federation back on premise, or simple things if you want to do kind of a burst into the cloud or use the cloud as a DR facility, you can allow the AWS data center to connect directly into your on-premise resources. And we talked a little bit about certifications and things like PCI and HIPAA. So, we've got, I'm not sure what the number is, but hundreds of security controls that we control for these different certifications. So whether you're in the federal space and care about things like FedRAMP, or if you need ISO 27001, PCI DSS level 1 through 2, 3, SOC 1, 2, 3. If you need access to any such reports, you can work through your existing account manager, and we can provide you the outputs of these. And some of these are also available on our website. But again, it means that our base infrastructure is capable of handling these, and then sometimes you'll also want to make sure that your application supports it as well. And for a lot of the federal and government use cases, we have a special region called GovCloud, which we make sure it conforms to things like FedRAMP and some of the federal regulations a little bit more tightly. So I'd like to introduce Dawn from Checkpoint, who's going to talk more specifically about what their gateway looks like on AWS.
Great, thanks, Nick, and again, thank you everyone for joining us today. As you heard, my name is Don Meyer. I head up product marketing here at Checkpoint, where my responsibilities focus primarily on the data center. And I've been in this industry for quite some time, and been in network security for quite a few years as well. And I have to tell you, this whole cloud thing is one of the most disruptive things I've seen in my tenure here at any organization. I've been with Checkpoint for about a year and a half, been in the industry, like I said, for a while. And before we start diving into Checkpoint, I wanted to reiterate a few things that Nick had started talking about as it pertains to security, and now what the security looks like as we start moving our workloads and adopting more of the cloud infrastructure. Obviously, Nick made it a great point to say it's an interesting world out there. Threats continue to evolve, and the players continue to hone their skills. And what we're seeing a lot in the industry now is going after the lowest hanging fruit, some of these benign or non-critical services, if you will, that can reside in the cloud, that can use common scripting languages, that can have known flaws in them. Once they gain that foothold, they start looking at ways of spreading laterally, and the reason is because it's very difficult to insert security, advanced security services, if you will, into that infrastructure in a seamless manner to prevent that lateral spread, to really identify how those command and control types of sessions are propagating themselves across this new cloud infrastructure. And the reason being is, this infrastructure is very, very dynamic. We've got things, waking up or going dormant at will. We've got, things expanding on demand. So the security in this realm has to be able to match to that kind of dynamic, agile infrastructure, if you will. And if you play around with security as much as we have over here, you realize that security really wasn't built for that sort of dynamic, more automated type of workflows. Security traditionally had been very stoic, very centralized, highly manual, if you will. And as a result, we had to rethink what security means, and as well get consistent visibility across this new infrastructure. Our networks now are all over the place. The perimeter has effectively dissolved. There is no standard perimeter where traffic comes in and out of a particular organization. It's going all over the place. We're using SaaS applications. We're using IaaS, such as Amazon Web Services, and a host of other on-prem services. So our data is flowing all over the place. Our users are everywhere. The devices that they're using to be able to access this data is all over the place. So getting consistent visibility across this entire, spectrum of area where our data can flow, it's kind of challenging. We need to get that back. We need to start looking at, holistically where our data is going and potentially what threats we can see out there, and consolidating all that into a single view of not only logs but events and reporting, so that we have better tools at our disposal to really make better decisions on how best to protect this data. So understanding all of that, a lot of our customers, and to Nick and AWS's credit, always tell us, first and foremost, hey, why do we need something like a vSEC? We know the cloud is secure. We know AWS has done a great job of providing, security for the cloud and making the cloud secure. So what is the need for AWS or for additional security within AWS? And as Nick had pointed out, there is a shared security and a shared responsibility model that is encouraged in the cloud. And the reason being is that, yes, the infrastructure is secure, and AWS does a tremendous job of providing that. But they also provide the ability to segment out your data. They, do a great job of allowing you to use security groups and different availability zones to isolate and segment your data. But isolation in and of itself is a really good foundational first step. The problem becomes when you connect that VPC to the internet. Well, guess what? You're now exposed to all the other problems that are out there in the internet, just as you were on-prem. And without a robust capability to take a look at that traffic that's coming in and out of the VPC, to actually expose the payload and identify malicious traffic in there and be able to react to it and or remove it, you're pretty much exposed, and you're going to have some problems. So understanding what the shared responsibility model means in terms of your responsibility for protecting your workflows and your data is a really important first step in making sure that that VPC and your data and your assets in the cloud are very well protected. Another key thing that we like to say is that you can do now advanced security groups with the level of threat prevention that you're comfortable with and provide that consistent level of protection that we get on-prem. It's one of the hardest things to take a look at from a network security perspective is we've been so focused on appliances and being able to bring appliances where we need them to be. It's a hard thing to do when we don't own the infrastructure anymore. So we have to be able to leverage some of the existing tools such as security groups and such as the rule sets that we see from AWS, be able to plug into that to be able to offer you a fine-tuned, more granular type of security capability that you can then leverage to provide the right set of security controls for your data, for whatever you're going to be hosting, for whatever those assets might be. So that's one of the first things we always hear. The second challenge we hear is, as I just said, how do I get this great security capability in a cloud-based format? I know that traditional security models are based on static controls or based on IP addresses. None of those things mean anything to me anymore in this dynamic environment. So this environment moves too quickly. I'm using more automation tools. My security needs to be able to follow those same constructs, if you will, and not hinder my ability to take full advantage of what the cloud can bring for me. And at the same time, I really need to make sure that what is coming in and out of that VPC is what I really want, and it's not going to slow down my performance or inhibit my ability to burst, to expand, to be able to accommodate to bursts in traffic and or lapses, low points in traffic when I want to shrink down my footprint a little bit. So how does a traditional security that's really kind of monolithic and stoic, how does it fit into this model really effectively? Well, the truth of the matter is that security can fit in this model. And here at Checkpoint, we have an advantage over perhaps the rest of our competitors in the sense that we are a software company first and foremost. From our humblest beginnings to now, we are a software-driven organization, making it easier for us to port our wares, if you will, into this type of environment. We're not reliant or dependent upon a particular hardware design, if you will, to allow us to deliver all the advanced capabilities that we have, such as firewalling and IPS and advanced threat emulation. capabilities through our sandboxing technologies. We have been supporting x86 architectures for a long, long time, so porting over to the cloud isn't a big effort for us. But at the same token, realizing how the cloud is operating and what the key things are for making security successful in the cloud, we've also added some additional capabilities. Again, being software, we have that luxury to be able to do that. We have the right R&D focus, and we have the right set of engineers to allow us to really craft our solution to fit this cloud model in terms of operating things like auto scalability to meet elastic demand. As we'll talk about in a little bit, we do support and integrate in with Amazon's ELBs so that when a certain threshold is met on a particular gateway, we can add a new gateway automatically to accommodate that burst in traffic, to continue to keep that service up and running and not create a bottleneck or some type of problem for users to be able to get access to that service. We can also operate in HA modes in the cloud within VPCs and across availability zones. Some of the more advanced features that, again, some of the competitors out there just really aren't able to deal with as a result of not being software first and foremost. And we can also do things like automatically update our security policies in terms of being able to discover what is being defined in this new infrastructure. We integrate very well with the infrastructure insofar that we can absorb information such as security groups and tags into our policy engine and really allow us to craft the right policies based on what we're protecting, as opposed to an IP address, which doesn't mean anything anymore because it's going to move and change. So as a result of those key things that we've been able to do, we really think we've crafted a very unique and very compelling solution in our vSEC gateways. vSEC basically stands for virtual security, and it's our way of describing porting all of the great capabilities that we have in our appliance-based solutions, all the firewalling and market-leading security capabilities, into a package that is sized and is built specifically for cloud environments. And it's offered in two flavors, one of which is the gateway itself. And the gateway is deployable within the Amazon marketplace. It comes with all the right security capabilities to allow you to then provide the right type of security capabilities or the right type of protections, if you will, for your workloads and for your data. It's designed to allow you to secure not only the ingress-egress ports of your VPC, but also to provide security between all of your different access groups and security zones, if you will, within your VPC. It does come with its own management solution, so if you're running a single gateway or two gateways, you can manage them individually. You can tailor them specifically to what it is that you're looking to do and what you're looking to protect. But as your infrastructure grows, and or if you're tying it back into an on-prem checkpoint deployment, we offer a vSEC controller as well. What the vSEC controller does is it actually plugs right into your Smart Manager solution, and it turns our management solution into a cloud-aware and cloud-ready management tool, which allows us to then see and provide unified policies across both on-prem now and in the cloud. Gives us all that context awareness, as I was describing, understanding what that cloud-based infrastructure looks like in terms of how we've organized security groups, how we've tagged and classified various assets. All of that information is absorbed directly from the AWS infrastructure, and it's updated in real time. So if there's a change that we make to a particular asset or we reclassify a host, that information is already absorbed into our policy, and the rules adjust to themselves, or the rules adjust to these changes automatically, so that we have cloud-aware now policies that are as dynamic as our infrastructure is. And as well, because it's managed from Checkpoint, it sees it as another gateway. All vSECs and all appliances are just viewed as gateways. We have a consistent view now and a centralized point that we can go into the network. We can manage policies. We can manage logging and reporting, all from a centralized point of view. So we can have a consistent set of policies across wherever our data goes, and as well a consistent set of logging and reporting to make our jobs and make our transition to the cloud that much easier. So, as I mentioned, Checkpoint vSEC is available from the AWS Marketplace, and first and foremost, we try to make it easy to obtain and easy to license. We support pay-as-you-go and bring your own license options, and as well supports management on the individual gateways themselves. And as you can see from the image on the slide here, the management is intuitive, and it's allows you to basically tailor each vSEC gateway specific to the needs of that particular environment. Whether you need full firewall IPS capabilities, a lot of the case studies and use cases that we deploy for our customers focus on IPS, really to just provide that level of deep packet inspection so that they can filter out all the unnecessary junk that could be targeting a particular host and keep that host free from most malicious traffic. You can turn on even more advanced features such as anti-bot, anti-spam, URL filtering, and the like, so that you have a solution that's tailored for specifically what we're trying to protect. And as well, the licensing is very, very easy. If you have existing licenses as well, we support a pool of licenses. So if you bought a bunch of gateways and you bought licenses for those gateways, if you decommission some gateways as you're moving things into the cloud, those licenses will actually be automatically absorbed into the vSEC gateways themselves, so you don't have to repurchase licensing. So we try and make that transition as easy as we possibly can and allow you to have the right tools to migrate your data and migrate your workflows where you need them to be. In addition to that, we've done some interesting work with AWS, and in fact, Checkpoint is the first enterprise-class next-generation firewall solution to achieve the AWS Security Competency status. What does that mean? It means we get a great little icon, as you can see right down there in the lower left-hand corner of the slide, that we can prominently display. But more so for you, what it means is that we've done all the heavy lifting to ensure a seamless integration into AWS, supporting a variety of different use cases to help you make that migration even more painless, if you will. It demonstrates that we have the technical proficiency and proven customer successes to make sure that this solution works and works right for you. But it also recognizes our expertise in terms of being able to deliver the right type of security capabilities to satisfy the needs of cloud providers and cloud infrastructure, so that your workloads, your data are all secured, and that migration for you into the cloud becomes a seamless and, as I said, painless integration. But what it also means is that we've also started working on advanced capabilities, such as support for the auto-scaling, as we mentioned already, support for Amazon ELB, even integrating into CloudWatch so we can have consolidated triggers and monitors for when we need to burst and need to expand our vSEC gateways automatically to accommodate bursts in traffic. And as well, it supports the rapid single-click deployment capabilities and characteristics indicative of how users want to deploy in the cloud. So rest assured that we've done all the heavy lifting not only on the engineering side to make sure that the product is right, has all the right capabilities, but now that it fits seamlessly into this existing infrastructure. And again, I want to harp on this as much as I possibly can, because in the cloud, there are things that have changed from a security perspective that makes security a challenge. The old 5-tuple that we used to use from source, destination, IP addresses doesn't mean a whole lot to us anymore if this particular host all of a sudden changes its IP address, or if an ELB has to balance between a new host that just popped up to accommodate a burst in traffic. So with our AD management solution, our ability to absorb information from the infrastructure, we now can literally provide cloud-aware policies that deliver a much more intuitive way of drafting your policies specific to what that infrastructure is all about. And what's more, once the policies are crafted, once we've absorbed the information from the infrastructure, any changes to that infrastructure are automatically reflected in our policies. So if a host classification changes, that change is automatically reflected in our policy, and the rules are updated as a result of that. So that we have better visibility and, more importantly, better enforcement and better forensics that we can leverage to be able to make sure that we're mitigating risks appropriately now based on how our infrastructure is changing, and that dynamic nature of the cloud model is not broken, if you will. We can leverage as much dynamicism, as much agility as we need to ensure that our business is moving in the direction we need it to do without having to worry about what that security is. Likewise, in terms of deployment scenarios, we have, as I mentioned, quite a few scenarios that we have qualified with our customers. Most typical is a typical customer that's going into the cloud, that's migrating off on-prem into the cloud, or has decided to use full cloud as their data center, as their infrastructure. In that sense, again, vSEC is ready to be deployed, not only to provide that filtration capability for anything that's ingress-egress, but also to look at securing any potential lateral threats, if you will, that are within that particular infrastructure. We can support different routes off of the AWS infrastructure to make sure that the right traffic is routed to the right gateways to ensure the proper level of security within a particular VPC. However, a lot of our customers are also looking at leveraging on-prem and, to Nick's point, expanding different workflows or expanding different opportunities for leveraging infrastructure as a service or Amazon Web Services in particular. And as a result, we're seeing a lot of hybrid cloud use cases popping up where we have a customer that, or customers, I should say, that have a very distributed architecture, and they need consistency across that architecture in terms of threat visibility, reporting, and the like. More so, we can also, from our management capabilities, have a consistent set of policies across wherever that data is. As I'd mentioned before, a very keen opportunity for Checkpoint is being able to deliver that level of consistent visibility, consistent enforcement, consistent policy across wherever those data flows may go. And as a result, we're seeing some interesting opportunities in terms of organizations leveraging AWS for servicing branch offices, migrating the infrastructure from those offices off of the prem and into the cloud, and still tying it back to other on-prem services such as Active Directory or email and things of that nature, so that the services can be a mix between on-prem and off-prem, leveraging either Checkpoint VPNs as well as Checkpoint gateways to ensure that the data is encrypted as it goes in transit, and as well the data is policy-driven as it's touching any of the data centers that the customers have. So a lot of interesting use cases that we have in terms of what the hybrid model looks like. In terms of how we're advancing some of the capabilities within the VPCs themselves, wanted to share with you a quick, just a use case that is more and more becoming common from our customers' perspective. And it's something that we hear and have seen, from Amazon's perspective, how to really get between different availability zones and provide security in multiple availability zones, and do that in a HA configuration supporting all the scaling and that like. We have a published reference architecture, and in fact we use several CloudFormation templates that are available from AWS, from the marketplace, supporting a variety of different use cases. This is one of the more common use cases where organizations need an HA configuration across multiple availability zones. As you can see, we have Checkpoint in an ELB sandwich, if you will, supporting multiple availability zones and elastic load balancing across these different traffic zones. Utilizing Amazon's CloudWatch to monitor each of our gateways capability, or each one of the gateways status. Once we hit a certain threshold, actually CloudWatch is triggering the deployment of another Checkpoint gateway if and when the traffic reaches a certain threshold and we need to accommodate a burst or scalability, if you will, across that traffic. The CloudWatch templates that we utilize allow CloudWatch to monitor our gateways, allow them to then trigger the insertion of a new gateway into a particular availability zone, so we can accommodate those bursts in traffic across whatever the particular traffic needs are of that particular availability zone across multiple availability zones, and as well support HA across these different zones. Again, complete CloudFormation templates are available for us. I know you've heard a lot about me talking about it. We've got some really interesting use cases, and I want to share with you one of those cases and really stop talking so you can hear the more interesting things that we have to talk about. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Brandon, who's over at Cortigen, who's going to walk you through what Cortigen has been doing with not only AWS, but with us. So Brandon, go ahead and take it away.
Great. Thank you very much. Yes, today I'm going to walk you through a little background on Cortigen, give you a little history of what we've implemented with AWS and with the Checkpoint team, talk about a little bit some of the business and technical challenges, and ultimately go through some of the benefits. And I'll do some of this at a very high level, and then I'm going to turn this over to our partners at Rudder Networking Technologies, who actually deployed the solution and support it today. So Cortigen is a molecular information company committed to transforming the practice of medicine while improving the understanding of neurological and metabolic disorders such as autism, epilepsy, and mitochondrial disease. Our state-of-the-art clinical laboratory seamlessly integrates genotype, phenotype, and disease mechanism data using cloud-based computing. Our team has developed a core business engine which utilizes rapid, highly automated processes and proprietary software to overcome the speed, cost, and clinical interpretation deficiencies currently associated with next-generation sequencing. Our team has unparalleled experience building, integrating, and deploying leading-edge technologies across DNA sequencing, cloud computing, and laboratory automation. Several of our mission-critical applications run in the cloud at AWS, including our bioinformatics engine called Cipher. Cipher utilizes multiple databases and algorithmic metrics to determine the clinical relevance of genetic mutation in the patient's DNA. This platform has enabled our team to generate sequencing data for over 19,000 genetic tests. Genetic testing typically generates upwards of 320 gigabytes of data per run, and a run typically takes a few days to process in our laboratory prior to uploading to AWS. We also store north of 150 terabytes of data at AWS, and the data is kept spinning to allow our informatics package to learn from past clinical cases. And we utilize this data to help pharmaceutical partners with intelligent drug design. Today we are using S3 buckets and Glacier for a variety of different storage needs. Finally, gigabases of sequence data are actually mapped to 3 gigabases of human genome, and that's followed by variant detection, variant annotation, and eventually we develop a clinical report which is handed to a physician. Amazon's elastic computing cloud enables us to process all of the patient reports from a single run within a matter of an hour versus a number of days. Now, to go through some of the business and technical challenges in selecting the solution, our firm considered a number of different factors in partnering with Amazon, Checkpoint, and Rudder. Most importantly, we've always been big advocates of focusing on core competencies and partnering with industry leaders that could be more effective at managing a segment of our business. And these firms really brought considerable domain knowledge to the relationship, which enabled a seamless experience. In addition to focusing on core competencies, I wanted to mention a few other business and technical considerations that were important in our decision-making process. First, we needed a technology partner that would meet all of the compliance and regulatory scrutiny for storing patient records in the cloud. And outside of Amazon's compliance standards, our partners allowed us to utilize an Ethernet private line with Amazon's Direct Connect solution. And this allowed us to transport our mission-critical and sensitive data in a more secure manner. Second, our firm wanted to utilize a platform that was not only easy to use, but provided access to our team any place, anytime, anywhere. And our firm currently has north of 45% of the workforce working remotely or at least on the move. Third, our firm needed the ability to dynamically increase or decrease compute capacity based off of the number of tests that were in our production queue. AWS gave us the ability to perform elastic parallel processing, which allows us to generate hundreds of reports from our sequencing data in a matter of an hour versus several days with serial computing techniques. Fourth, we wanted to find a partner that helped us achieve our business continuity plans. In order to mitigate potential business risks from any given data center going offline, we run our application and store our data in multiple availability zones within the Amazon network. And finally, our team needed an architecture that supported a hybrid cloud. Our current pipeline pre-processes data as it comes off of DNA sequencers. We compress all those files prior to sending them over the EPL to Amazon. And the Checkpoint solution and Amazon solution allowed us to enable those business and technical risks. So why did we select Checkpoint? There's probably several different reasons. First, Checkpoint played an integral role in enabling our migration to the cloud. With the Checkpoint virtual appliance, we extended security to the cloud with the full range of protection using Checkpoint software blades. These were very easy to set up and use, and the solution helped us harden our environment while it enabled secure connectivity to Amazon's VPC. Second, the firm needed a cloud-based environment that could provide accessibility to our employees, as well as physicians and other healthcare organizations, yet incorporate strong security to safeguard patient records and other sensitive information. And we currently utilize 3 Checkpoint virtual appliances within the AWS network. In addition, Checkpoint solution supported our requirements for diverse and mobile employees and partners. As I mentioned, many of our employees work off-site or on the move, and we needed a secure solution to allow employees to access this platform from any location. And finally, with our key business operations residing in the cloud, we needed to be sure that the solution would provide high availability performance. And the Checkpoint representatives worked very closely with our firm to develop a highly redundant solution with failover capabilities. So from a high level on the solution, and I'll talk about this really at a sort of an executive level, and the folks at Rudder will go into greater details in terms of the actual deployment. But I wanted to highlight a few of the features of the combined platform. First, our partner solution provided us with advanced security protection, including IPS, antivirus, anti-bot, access control with 2-factor authentication, as well as site-to-site VPN for our hybrid cloud. In addition, the solution enabled high availability clusters for disaster recovery, and we currently utilize solutions in the Ashburn facility along with Oregon. So we have a diverse setup for all of our critical applications. And third, the solution provided seamless integration with AWS load balancing, along with direct connect via EPL for our hybrid cloud. Finally, the solution provides scale and flexibility for elastic workloads, which is certainly critical for our production environments to give us dynamic ability to dramatically scale up workloads in case patient volumes increase. And we certainly feel that Checkpoint's been an ideal partner because their platform allows us to leverage the cloud to its fullest capabilities. In addition, it's given us the security, speed, and agility, along with the cost savings to efficiently grow our business. So to summarize our partnership with Rudder, AWS, and Checkpoint, which have allowed us to utilize a world-class data center that we would not otherwise have the resources or capital support. In addition, this partnership has allowed our firm to focus on helping patients opposed to supporting and managing a data center. Their combined solution provided us with several different advantages, which I'll briefly mention. First and foremost, advanced and scalable security, which meets all of our regulatory requirements. Second, the platform supports our dynamic workforce and hybrid cloud environment. Third, we have the ability to fully utilize elastic cloud computing services with high availability with redundancy. And finally, this has been a very capital efficient model for us. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to our friends at Rudder Networking, who really helped us deploy the technology, and they support the platform today, and they'll go into more of the technical aspects of our solution.
Thank you, Brendan. My name is Jay Bendonis. I'm the Security Technology Manager at Rudder Networking Technologies. We were the partner that helped put all the brass tacks together, so here's down to the technical details. A little bit about Rudder. We're a leading provider of technology solutions in New England. We're a certified service provider for both Amazon and Checkpoint, and we've been a Checkpoint partner for well over a decade. Digging deeper into the details, we provide both the initial integration and the full managed services for Cortigen's solution, both their on-premise Checkpoint solution and their AWS environment, putting together an architecture what was years ahead of the curve, integrating all the solutions together. So the overall architecture and implementation, we wanted to utilize the fact that Cortigen was already a Checkpoint customer and using Checkpoint services on-premise. we wanted to try to reduce their overall costs by not adding anything additional that we didn't need to have. So currently, they had, as an existing, they already had 4,000 series gateways on their premise, as well as a Smart One appliance. Deploying the Checkpoint architecture within AWS, we were able to integrate their vSEC instances directly to their existing management, allowing us to reuse all of the objects, all of the rules, and every other option that they had already been working out for their DMZs, for all of their inbound services as an existing platform. Taking complete advantage of what Checkpoint's central architecture already gives us. Now, deploying these out to the cloud became even easier at that point. We were able to then build all the rules and then extend more or less their office premise directly into the cloud. Now, what you'll see here is pretty much the basic, the general reference architecture that Don mentioned earlier, with only a few minor exceptions. That does run into the front-end load balancers that pops into 2 different availability zones, allowing us to put the same basic rule set on both sets of firewalls with little to no overhead for our management back end. Also, the one other addition that we found, due to the quantity of workloads that Cortigen was pushing up to AWS, we found that, like everybody else complains about, the internet was slow. So the latency for them uploading these huge workloads tended to be complicated just due to the nature of the way the internet works. By leveraging the AWS Direct Connect solution, we were able to reduce their overall load time and take what was a data load that could take an hour or 2 hours and reduce that down to a time where, the shortest amount of time where you could simply go to get a cup of coffee and come back and the data was moved up there. Over that private line, we also deployed a VPN tunnel to ensure their data was going to be secure in the upload. From there, all the pieces come together. This allows all their mobile users, plus the doctors and everybody else, to access their environment securely via remote access VPN, both into their current environment, as they always have, and offloads it into AWS, allowing the whole solution to come together very seamlessly. So, as a result, it all came together fast, easy, able to reuse everything that was already existing, not having to have to then recreate any objects, recreate any users. The unified management made the entire environment a piece of cake to put together. And as Don mentioned, it's a software solution. On-prem, they were already using IPS, they're already using anti-bot, they're already using antivirus, and the URL filtering. We were able to take all of the policies that we had developed for their corporate environment, deploy them out to the cloud with little to no pain. And then now that it's all functioning out in the cloud, we have all the scalability features that come from the Amazon environment. So, in short, it happened to be fast, cheap, and secure all at the same time, which nobody ever gets. It also gets Cortigen the ability for fast upgrades. One thing that Cortigen has been a Checkpoint customer for quite a while, and it's gone through a couple of software upgrades. Our ability to upgrade their environments within the cloud is seamless. Unlike having to change software versions and run upgrades, deploying a new AMI off an existing template was painless. The upgrade process took a matter of minutes and was completely seamless to the entire operation because it just simply upgraded the underlying VPC. All of the ENIs reconnected. Life goes on. There wasn't even an outage. No downtime, no issue. and with the ELBs in front of it, even if there had been any kind of a hiccup in the process, it would have failed over the other availability zone, and nobody would have seen anything. So for more information, we have a set of links that we can pass along to you, and with that, I'll pass it back over to Nick at this point.
Cool deal. Cool. So we're going to do some Q&A now. Looks like we've opened up the polls as well, so feel free to fill that out. If you haven't already been putting the questions in, the Q&A has been kind of going through. So go ahead and put in any questions you may have, and we'll start answering some of the questions that we've gotten so far. So we'll start off one of the questions I know that I get fairly often, which is the difference between checkpoint and security groups. So when do you need security groups versus a checkpoint gateway? So it's easier to start off with what the security groups do, because checkpoint does pretty much everything else that it doesn't do. So security groups, they're stateful at layer 4. They're applied per instance. You can apply 250 of them per instance. In each policy, you can define the protocol port. You can also define an ingress or egress security group. So you can say if it's in a database security group, allow it in. It's whitelist only. It is, TCP, ICMP aware, so it's from a protocol perspective, it knows about those things. And that's the majority of it. It doesn't do deep packet inspection. It doesn't do IPS, IDS, those kinds of things. It doesn't know anything about the application. Doesn't know anything about malware. It doesn't know anything about botnets. Any of those kinds of things. If you want to do centralized control, without buying a third-party tool, it doesn't have that. So the use case where I see is really, IPS, IDS, centralized control. If you want to get a single pane of glass between the AWS environment and on-premise, those tend to be the use case where I see a lot of checkpoint value. There was, let's see here. There was a question about how the vSEC platform interacts with TwoFin and Firemon, so for firewall automation and audit tools. So the vSEC should look the same as an on-premise, look a bit smaller potentially. The tools like TwoFin and Firemon will also read in AWS security group rules. So in AWS, you'll be able to see both the checkpoint policy as well as the AWS policy that's been configured, and if you've got a mixed environment. There was a question if you can manage checkpoint from on-premises if your gateways are in AWS. So that'll, as long as you've got connectivity, it should work. Obviously, for security management, you'd want that to be over a private connection, so direct connect or VPN. Don, I don't know if you want to add anything there, but
correct. Yeah. Yeah, perfect, Nick, and thanks for that. Essentially, yes, you can, from on-prem, you can extend to Nick's point, whether you're using Direct Connect or VPN tunnels. As long as you can see the gateways, the management platform just sees it as another gateway. It sees it just as the same type of gateway as any other deployed gateway, whether it's physical or virtual, and allows you to do the same things in terms of grouping them, categorizing them, pushing policy, and that sort of thing. So, yes, you can certainly manage vSEC from prem using your existing tools. In fact, the vSEC minimum management model or management release that you need to be on is R77. R77.30, there's a hot fix for the management platform that supports vSEC. It's basically just a quick software upgrade that allows you to then integrate in with the AWS infrastructure, start building information from AWS so that we can start leveraging the security groups, the tagging, and the other information that we can pull from the infrastructure within our management infrastructure. Then again, leveraging that information for the vSEC gateway. So it's really not a heavy upgrade or anything. It's just a quick hot fix so that we can cloud aware, if you will, or cloud enable our management platform.
Cool. And then I know there was another question about how do you guys do east-west security? So in the same.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's really about how we route the traffic. In some instances, using the standard routes coming off the ELBs, we're fine. In other instances, if we want to do a little bit more fine-grained controls, then we define the route tables, and we'll support that on the gateways themselves. We've got some interesting case studies that we've been working with some customers, some of which is documented, some of which we're still in the process of documenting. So please take a look at the marketplace and take a look at some of the templates that we've already got existing. They can help you build a blueprint. If you have a specific use case or a specific need, don't hesitate to reach out to us again, because we're still in the process of learning as much as we can about this infrastructure, and making sure that we and Amazon work together to make sure that if we're doing lateral threat prevention, we're doing it in such a way that maintains the automation, maintains the elasticity of the cloud. We're most of the way there. We're 99% there in terms of how we support ELBs, support the CloudWatch infrastructure, and that sort of thing. But we would love to learn a little bit more specifically about what your requirements are, so that we can make sure that we get the right solution for you. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Cool. And then I think there was a question here around the management platform. A couple different questions. I'll just get them all at you at once. Is vSEC supported R77 provider 1? And then I know in AWS Marketplace it says there's a checkpoint security appliances. Sorry, reading for the wrong place here. Basically, there's a checkpoint R80 security management in AWS Marketplace.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, definitely. Our management solution, as I mentioned before, the minimum software version that we support, vSEC gateways and all the fun, dynamic policy infrastructure, if you will, is R77, and there's a hot fix for it. All of this is public. It's on our support site. So if you're running R77 and you want to make sure that you've got the current version that will support that, take a look at the support site. Links to the hotfixes are there as well. In terms of R80, we also support R80 management. You can run your management in the cloud. It is supported, and the R80 platform, the R80 management platform, already includes all of the support for vSEC, all of the native integrations into the AWS infrastructure. So you have a couple of options. If you're an existing customer that's running, an iteration of R77 on-prem, and you want to extend that management out to the AWS cloud to manage those gateways, you may need to do a hotfix just to get your management solution cloud-enabled, if you will. If you're not, and you're starting fresh, you have a great opportunity to integrate R80, our latest management solution, that not only has all these great APIs to allow us to tie into things like CloudWatch and others natively, but we also have some really interesting workflows to help make security in this new cloud world much more manageable, much more meaningful in terms of how you craft your security management policies and things of that nature. So you can do a lot more with a lot less people and continue to propel your business forward without having to worry so much about your security. So R77 is the minimum that will support vSEC on. There is a hotfix available for it. R80 does it all natively. There's no hotfix necessary for it. Turn it on and away you go. So hopefully that answers the question. If you have other questions on management, please let us know. Please feel free to reach out to us after the webinar, and we'd be more than happy to go a little bit further with it.
Okay. Could you? I know there was a couple questions briefly on how the security based on tagging works. So if I want to, if I've got different workloads that have different tags, or if I know that maybe a VM that is compromised, that has a tag, or maybe it's infected, can you talk a little bit about how that works? Yeah,
that's a great question. In some of the infrastructure that we've been working with, in particular with NSX. And as you know, NSX and AWS have a great partnership now where they can effectively start managing and more importantly, making that migration, that hybrid type of model work really, really effectively. In NSX, we've been able to leverage information from the NSX manager to tell us when a particular host has been infected and or has changed its status. And as a result of that, because we're an enforcement point that's in the way of that traffic, if we see that change of status, we can also enforce kind of a change in its classification, if you will, and run if it's already scripted auto remediation workflows, and that could be anything from send it to an AV engine to scrub it if it's got a virus on it, to have it run somewhere else to make sure that whatever is affecting it or why it's changed its classification can be fixed. Once we get indication from NSX manager that it's been fixed, then we reclassify that particular asset as clean, or reclassify it back the way it was, and allow it to go back into service. That is automated. That's part of some of the advanced capabilities that we do with NSX today. We're leveraging that same understanding, the same types of workflows, if you will, into the AWS infrastructure. Right now, we have the blueprints there. We're not quite at the point where we say it's ready for prime time, if you will, but that's the direction we're rapidly going into, and I would expect to see more information about that as we progress throughout 2017. So right now we can definitely do the east-west lateral threat prevention. We can see all the threats that are coming. We can absorb tagging information off of the AWS infrastructure. But in terms of doing auto remediation, that's a little bit in the future. We'll give you more information on that as it comes available to us.
Okay, and this one's for Cortigen. They said, did you have to increase your cybersecurity budget to take on this project?
No, not material. Actually, the process of outsourcing virtually all of our infrastructure, we really support the entire infrastructure outside of the cost of bringing Rudder Technologies in to oversee everything and provide engineering support. We really have one internal person really supporting all of our vendors that manage everything in the cloud. And outside of that, we do bring in outside third-party compliance security companies to do audits on our business on a yearly basis to analyze everything. And that was an increased cost, but we were going to spend that anyways due to compliance issues with HIPAA and everything else. So it wasn't a material change in budgeting.
Cool. I think we've got through most of the questions here. Jerry, do you want to say last words here?
Yeah, just want to remind everybody, we do have our polls open. Thanks everybody for attending today, and I'd like to thank all our presenters and panelists for their time today and their content. So at this time, we'll go ahead and close down our session. Everybody have a great day, and thanks again for joining.